On today's video, I'm going to be baking the tastiest chocolate Guinness cake you've ever tried in your life. Not only that, I'm going to be creating a Bailey's whipped white chocolate ganache. This recipe is perfect for St. Patrick's Day, so let's go. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm a professional pastry chef sharing my secret and tastiest recipes with you. So it's St. Patrick's Day coming up and I've got a perfect recipe for you to celebrate this fantastic day, celebrating St. Patrick, who is the patron saint of Ireland. This recipe is using Guinness and Bailey's, of course, two amazing exports from Ireland. And I've got an amazing chocolate cake recipe. It's so moist, it's really tasty, and it goes perfectly with the Bailey's whipped cream. What a combination. I'm actually making white chocolate shamrocks or 3-leaf clovers to give it that real St. Patrick's Day vibe. So grab your Guinness and grab your Bailey's, and let's get into this recipe.
So we'll make the chocolate Guinness cake first, followed by the Bailey's whipped ganache, and then the white chocolate shamrocks. So of course we're using Guinness Stout for this cake. This adds to the cake both moisture and a fantastic background flavour. So in a bowl we're going to add 150 grams of all-purpose flour, 60 grams of cocoa powder, 1/2 or 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Sieve these together and then add 300 grams of caster sugar. Mix again well. Then we're going to open a can of Guinness, weigh out 170 grams. Then in a separate bowl, mix together with 150 grams or 3 whole eggs. To that add 180 grams of buttermilk, 85 grams of melted butter. Then we whisk in the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients in 3 additions until you have this lovely smooth batter. That is ready to go into the tin. So to line our cake tin, we're going to cut 1 large piece of parchment, draw around the base with a pencil before cutting out. We're then going to cut 2 long strips of parchment before folding our line around 1 centimetre. We then cut lines along this ridge. This will form the sides of the cake tin. Then butter the cake tin with melted butter, using the trimmed strips of parchment to line the sides, and finally the disc for the base of the cake tin. We then add our batter into the cake tin. That can now go into a preheated fan-assisted oven at 155 degrees centigrade, which is 310 degrees Fahrenheit, and that bakes for between 42 and 46 minutes. We know when the cake is done when we can press it down very lightly and it springs back, and a wooden skewer or knife inserted into the centre of the cake comes out clean, no problem at all if it's very slightly undercooked. So for this beautiful Bailey's white chocolate whipped ganache, this is going to add a lovely creaminess to our sponge. We're going to chop up finely 200 grams of high quality white chocolate. Melt this in the microwave in 10 or 15 second bursts until it's almost completely melted. Stir it until it's fully melted. Then in a pan we're going to place 150 grams of whipping cream, 50 grams of honey and 1 teaspoon of instant coffee. That's going to give it that Bailey's caramel colour. Once this has come to the boil, we're going to add 1/3 of it onto the melted white chocolate. Stir this until it's smooth, followed by another third, again stirring until it's smooth, and finally the remaining cream. Mix this until it's beautiful and silky smooth, just like this. To that we're going to take 330 grams of cold whipping cream, mix this into the white chocolate ganache. We then take 50 grams of that Bailey's and again stir this into the ganache until it's very smooth, but we then blend the mixture, which helps to make the ganache super smooth and creamy. This is optional but definitely recommended. That will then be refrigerated for minimum 4 hours, but ideally overnight. All of the elements on this dessert can be prepared the day or even 2 days ahead of time. So moving on to the shamrock made of white chocolate or the 3-leaf clover, we take 100 grams of white chocolate. Microwave this in bursts of 10 seconds until the chocolate is melted but there are still lumps. Stir this until it's fully melted. Check the temperature. Ideally the temperature would be between 30 and 32 degrees, but as long as it's only just melted and not too hot, then it will be fine. We then add green colouring to this. I just got some gel colouring from my local supermarket. Whatever green food colouring you can find should be fine. If the mixture thickens up a little bit too much, like you can see here, I've just added 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil to let it back down so it's pipeable. We then place this green chocolate into a piping bag, tie it with some cling film, trim this off, and then here I've got a shamrock template which I'm going to draw around with the green chocolate. You can download this from my website, stephthepastrychef.com, or you can just print one off the internet. We then snip a very small hole in the piping bag and we draw around the outside of the template. If the chocolate becomes too firm, just blast it in the microwave for 5 seconds to soften it back up. Repeat this with all of the shamrocks before filling them in with that same chocolate. This will make enough to do 2 cakes, but you can always just eat those spare shamrock as a little extra treat. They can now set at room temperature for around half an hour. If they're a little bit soft, just put them in the fridge for 5 minutes. So to finish our amazing Guinness cake, we take the whipped white chocolate Bailey's ganache, which has been chilling overnight, all for 4 hours. We whip that until it's soft peaks, just holding its shape. Try not to over whip this, guys. Place this in a piping bag fitted with a plain piping nozzle, as you can see here. Fill that piping bag, twist, and we're ready to go. Our cake is now fully cooled down to room temperature. Again, you can make it the night before. We're going to remove the parchment from the outside and the underneath of the cake. You can see how incredible and moist this cake is looking, and we're going to take this beautiful creamy white chocolate Bailey's ganache and pipe beautifully right around the outside of the cake. Very satisfying one to watch this. Continue piping right throughout the cake so you can fill up all of those gaps. Then I've gone and piped a little second extra layer just to fill it up and really bulk it out with this super creamy Bailey's whipped cream. So then take a small block of high quality dark chocolate and grate it generously and liberally all over the cake, and we've got this amazing Guinness cake now, almost completely finished with our grated chocolate on top. All that remains is to take our lovely shamrock, slip them upside down so the smooth side is facing up, space them out evenly onto the cake, and there we have it, super moist, super tasty chocolate Guinness cake with Bailey's whipped cream. Enjoy!
There you have it, guys, an amazing chocolate Guinness cake with Bailey's whipped cream, perfect for St. Patrick's Day. You've got to try this recipe. That chocolate sponge is worth making just by itself, but you've got Bailey's, you've got Guinness, you've got shamrocks. This is the recipe to make at St. Patrick's Day. Maybe we can't go down the pub, but this is the next best thing.
So have a brilliant St. Paddy's Day, and please let me know in the comments if you've made this cake below. Also, if you've got any other recipes that you want to see me make and share my recipe for, please let me know in the comments below. As always, hit that like button, give me a subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another recipe on Steph the Pastry Chef.